Welcome to the For the Love of the Game podcast with your hosts, Jefferson Belfort and Brian Hernandez. Brian, how are you doing?
Man, basketball is back. Even though it's preseason basketball, we actually get to see some games. I am so excited, doing so well right now. We're recording this on Wednesday night right now, the October 5th. And so last night my Knicks looked pretty nice. We'll talk more about that later. But I'm doing great. How are you doing, Jeff?
Oh, like a kid on Christmas, man. It always feels good to be have the season started up again. Getting to experience all of the new players in new places, right? Getting to experience the rookies, getting that first taste, and then just really sussing out who, even though it's preseason, who looks really, really good, even in preseason. Obviously, it's not always indicative of what's going to happen in the season, but you do want to see what's happening out there. And there's been a few games where uh, I think we have a few teams that you can clearly say, hey, they're up for something good this year. And we got a few teams that might be in the same place they were last year.
Oh
You know,
yeah. For
so
sure.
definitely let's. I think that's a good place for us to start.
Yeah.
So the topics we have for today are what the hell is going on in Phoenix right now. Next topic after that is a quick, very early contenders and contenders revisiting the playoffs teams of last year. And then um, lastly, we will be recapping some of the preseason ball, some of the things that stood out for us, players, teams, and do we have a weekly roundup this week? Or
We actually do not. I
okay,
forgot to actually put some news there, but next time we'll have an extra long weekly roundup.
definitely. All right, so I guess it's perfect time to start off with our first topic. So the Phoenix Suns, just a few weeks ago, uh, had very very open and very very ugly situation with their owner Robert Sarver. We've been since we began this podcast. That was actually one of the biggest things we
Yeah.
first started talking about. Sad to see, and I know the NBA was investigating it. It was sad to see how it got moved into obscurity very quickly. And no one talked about it all of last season. After those first initial weeks, the Phoenix Suns had an amazing regular season. So it looked like we were never going to even talk about this. So when the offseason started and we started hearing murmurs about what's going to happen, we finally were able to see which punishment the NBA was going to levy to them. And we talked about that extensively in our last spot. So like it's more about like what is the aftermath now? Um we're now looking at a situation where they have key players like Jay Crowder openly saying he's not going to go back. And
Yeah.
he wrote that down on Twitter. He did delete it, but like he did openly say he's not going to do it. The team has okayed him being left out of training camp, and they're looking for a trade partner for him right now. Less than a week ago, they got demolished by an NBL team, you know,
The
and it's sad to say
36ers.
that the 36ers, man. It's sad to say that the team at, I say it's a demolishing. It was actually the final score was not indicative of what how the game really went. Like they just looked terrible compared to an NBL team. So that's very, very interesting, being that the last time we saw them, they lost by 45 points. And this is the situation they're walking into right now. And what do you think about the situation?
Oh man, it's it's just crazy. It's really just crazy to see like this downfall, and I wonder how sustained this downfall is really going to be right now for Phoenix. Like, because like it definitely is just hectic. Which this loss to the 36ers, of course, I think everyone knows the Phoenix Suns are better than an NBL team, especially the team that was the best regular season team in the NBA by like a really decent margin. Um, it's I think so during media day, there was a lot of talk about how our reporters were reporting like crazy. Like Brian Windhorst was one of them. I forget the other gentleman's name, but they're just
Mark
saying like,
Spears.
yes, Mark Spears, pretty much just saying like, hey, the atmosphere in Phoenix right now, it feels like a funeral. They're just saying like all these other things. They're just saying it's the worst out of all the years. Like these guys have been covering the NBA for over like 20 years, and they're like, this is the worst media day I've ever been to. And we saw the highlights of like DeAndre Ayton getting asked these questions of like, how does it feel coming back to this team and getting this big contract? He's like, it's cool. Yeah, like it is what it is. Like, how do you feel not talking about talking to your coach, or like he hasn't talked to his coach since the loss and everything? It's like, hey, it's a business, like it's just crazy, and things are not right now. It's very hectic. It probably does kind of feel like a funeral to them, in the sense of you see Devin Booker talking about like Robert Sarver, like that's not the Robert Sarver that I knew when I like now he's forced to sell the team and everything. Like it's just not a great place to be in at the moment. Is it going to be a great place to be in 3-4 months? Probably, most likely. I can see them coming back. But it's just like right now, right now, I'm sure this locker room is one of the most awkward, tense things ever. And it's kind of crazy even having like CP3, who's probably known to be one of like the best leaders in the NBA, having his team like feel and look like this right now. But before I go any further, Jeff, what are your thoughts?
No, I agree. Like it really does feel very, very it worries me that this is how they're starting off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, can they right the ship? You just said it. They have one of the best leaders in the NBA and Chris Paul. But I do think that there's certain things where even the best leaders can't change a
Yeah.
situation, right? And it's starting to feel like it's heading down that route, right? Camaraderie in the locker room, if that's not there, like what can you truly have as a team?
Mm-hmm.
They're not like they're not like Kobe and Shaq. They're not like the Bulls dynasty where if there's something that's happening in a locker room that they can withstand the storm and still be legendary. There's just a few teams in ever that could be able to do that, right? So I
Yeah.
don't see this being one of those teams that can do that, right? It's ironic because a lot of the offseason we wondered about what was going to happen to Kevin Durant, and this was one of the places potentially Kevin Durant would have went to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's now funny to think about it as what if it actually did happen? Like Kevin Durant talks about how he wants to be in a situation where he could win, where the noise is gone. It's just he wants to play ball. This would have been the worst place to go, and this was the team that was on the top of his list.
Yeah.
So it's just mad funny to see how this is unfolding. I do feel bad for the guys on the team that are having to answer unnecessary questions now for a situation that, they didn't provoke this. They didn't tell Robert Sarver to be this type of individual, Like, those were choices he made on his own. But now the players have to answer for it, which is ridiculous, honestly. And, I think that this carries into possibly a lackluster start to the season. From there, we'll figure out what type of team the Suns truly are at that point. But right now, it doesn't look too great. I feel bad about it, and I also just don't understand where are they gonna turn it around in my mind.
Yeah, like I think so. You're just talking about like probably gonna have a lackluster start to the season. Like I definitely agree, and even just thinking in the sense of they were the number one seed last year. Is that gonna happen again this year? Highly doubt it. And if you really just kind of look at it from a basketball standpoint, this is relatively the same roster. They really haven't done anything crazy or haven't made any big changes, substantial changes. If anything, you're kind of getting worse losing Jay Crowder. And like, it depends what they get back from him. Maybe it's equal or whatever. But I think there's just so much drama that wasn't there last season that's leading to this. The Robert Sarver stuff. Can that go away once he sells the team? If they sell the team to some big name person, I think one of the names that was Jeff Bezos was like, maybe, I don't know. Like if that happens, that's pretty cool. I'm sure that's going to lift up a lot of spirits and all that other stuff, blah, blah, blah. You have DeAndre Ayton. That situation, is that going away anytime soon? Probably not. It's just very awkward. The guy does not look happy to be there. We see videos of him, last season, a couple seasons ago, like the team just awkwardly dancing in the tunnel before going to the game, and like they looked like they were having a good time, goofing around and everything. Is that gonna happen again? No. Like it's DeAndre Ayton, like said it himself. Like it's to him now, like basketball is a business. That's what it is. When you hear someone say that, probably not the best, especially when this guy has a max contract now.
They probably already checked out,
Yeah, exactly. If basketball is a business, and he has a $40 million a year, whatever it is.
What makes it even more funny is like we're not even a full year removed from them having the most cringeworthy moment of them working out after the game, and everybody was clowning them on Twitter. So like that camaraderie was the tightest it could have ever been last year. And now look at how bad it looks after 1 year. Less than 1 year.
Yeah. It's it's at least that whole situation, especially with like Monty Williams, which, gets talked about as such a great coach. Like I really didn't think he would make things that awkward. Even during the entire summer, like the season was over and there's all these talks about they don't believe in DeAndre Ayton, blah blah blah. They feel like they can get his production in way less money in a mid-level exception center or whatever. And then they go ahead and like match him and like, yeah, we were always going to do that. He's the guy that we want here. Like he's not dumb. He knows exactly what's happening. It's just such a bad situation to be in.
Well, like we talked about it, I think, when it happened too. It's like usually when there's a smear job happening, you're like, okay, this means that someone's getting traded, someone's signing somewhere else. Like this it screamed, he's leaving, he's out of town, and the team knows it, so now they're gonna air out their laundry. And I think that they probably thought that they were going to see someone sign him for a ridiculous number that they would not match. And then they realized it's a number that they could, and they just did it, which is ridiculous. So,
it's very similar. Like that situation with Monty Williams and DeAndre Ayton at the end of last finals and blaming and all that stuff. Very similar to like the Ben Simmons situation. and like we saw in Philly, and like we saw that really not go well. Is DeAndre sitting out? No, of course not. But like it's it's just ugly. And then now you have as well the Jay Crowder stuff, and like they're pretty much saying, hey, we want to start Cam Johnson. Jay Crowder, you're going on the bench. And he's like, I'm not gonna play on the bench. I'm not doing that. Goodbye, peace. So the chemistry in the locker room could not be any worse right now. Yeah, it's so do you think they can turn it around at any point?
I'm not. I'm not seeing that right now. A lot of people on Twitter are clowning Booker posting. Like, think about this: for Booker to post a LeBron like press conference, right?
Oh
Well,
yeah.
think about where LeBron was at that moment. He was in the finals, at least. He was in the finals. Yeah, that was probably it. It still probably is his most embarrassing finals to lose, right? So like he said something out of emotion. So for you after a preseason game to post that, like, come on, man. Like you just look even worse. Like they just go out sorry with a lot of things. They're
Mm-hmm.
corny and they go out sorry with a lot of things. And like it sucks because like you want to believe in them. Because there are a good story.
Yeah.
Are a good story for the NBA, right? But way how they go about stuff, it just it's just always funny and
Yeah.
corny and like feels like it's paper mache, like made out of paper mache,
Mm-hmm.
like so.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know. I
think
think like this type of mental fortitude, they don't have the as a collective whole, they don't have the mental fortitude to sustain this and get past it. In my mind, at least.
yeah, it's definitely going to be tough. I think that loss to Dallas, that game 7, pretty like just organizational crushing right there. Like that just threw their window out. Um I mean, can they come back with the Robert Sarver selling? I think potentially. I really do think if you get the right owner, it's going to be hard to match like the Steve Ballmer kind of esque stuff that's going on with the Clippers and everything. But I think it could bring some new life into the team, make some excitement. But until that happens, and who knows how fast that's going to go with that much money on the line, it's going to be definitely going to be a decent amount of time. I can imagine. Yeah.
It typically is like a season's process, right?
Hmm.
For that to happen. So it's not like it's going to help them in the short term right now. There's
Yeah.
just too much uncertainty with
Hmm.
everything that's going to go on. Um, Obviously, we don't know. NBA could help with expediting it, but who knows? What if they do that?
Yeah, it's definitely crazy of like one of the more exciting teams in the NBA, like just just a big free fall, just going down, and like that, and even the Celtics. But at least I personally have a little bit more faith in the Celtics, even though that whole situation is also not as great as it was
Yeah.
just a couple months ago or even weeks ago. But yeah. Do you want to move on to like the pretenders and contenders?
Yes. So this section today, I will read out the names for you, Brian.
Very excited.
Obviously, I will be giving
Mm,
my expertise on it as well.
please.
But we're gonna do a little pretender and contender revisit of the 2022 NBA playoffs teams. We'll be starting off with the play-ins on both conferences. I'll start off with the West first, and then we'll make our move all the way the to the 1 through 8 seeds and go from there. Are you ready, Brian?
Yeah, man. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, perfect. So let's start off with number 10 in the play in. the San Antonio Spurs. Brian, what, are they pretenders? Are they contenders this
I
year?
I think anyone could just listen to Greg Popovich's quote when he's just like, I don't think I should say this, but anyone betting on us to win the title, yeah, you shouldn't make that bet. Like, so that's an easy pretender. If DeJounte, even if DeJounte Murray was still on that team, it's just a no, just a no.
Yeah, no, we already know they're on full Victor tank mode now. Like they've 100% guaranteed that they'll be in this. This is honestly, I really hope they get him because
I hope they do.
he fits the mold of like what Popovich has been able to get the most out of. Like, you know what I mean? Like being able to get another one of these big guys like a
Yeah,
Tim Duncan, like a
David
and I
Robinson.
don't know why David Robinson. I don't know why I went blank for that one,
I
but
got you.
yeah, like God, he has arguably two of the greatest big men to ever play this game. Right, to get a third, that I will say, I swear, watching his game, there's probably I haven't seen someone that young have that much upside, look that good, have that little of like flaws since like a LeBron James, you know? Like we knew like and it's crazy to even think about it like this too because like we knew Kevin Durant was going to be good, right?
Yeah.
But we didn't 100% know it was going to be a sure thing. But there's always been those few guys where you're like, "Oh, this is a sure thing."
Yeah.
He since LeBron in 2003 is the first person that I could say confidently this guy's a sure thing. Like he watching him play against
Scoot
the
Henderson, G
Ignite
League.
last night, yeah, like just seeing him pull up threes, him controlling the offense, bringing up the ball, his handles for a big man, like it's ridiculous how good this guy
He's
looks.
7'4".
And yeah, like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, that was not about the Spurs, but I had
Yeah,
to
yeah.
add that into there because he just looks too good. But I agree. I think we're going to be lockstep on this one. That
Yeah.
is definitely a pretender. We'll
They're,
move
they're
on
gonna
to the
they're gonna be
ninth seed.
hoping that they're the worst team. So if there are contenders, something has gone horribly wrong for the San Antonio Spurs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
but I think there's one thing that we had to keep in mind now too, as we're making a decision on who are contenders and pretenders. There's gonna be some teams that are gonna creep up for us, so we got to start thinking about who's we're gonna slide down as pretenders as well.
Yeah.
But as I say that, I go into who is the ninth seed, and that team was the New Orleans Pelicans. Brian, are they pretenders or contenders this year?
So I will say this one is probably one of my hottest takes, that with a healthy Zion Williamson and then the rest of the team, I think the Pelicans are contenders. Like I think they are that good. I think that pick with Herb Jones last year was pretty fantastic. I saw some of his defensive numbers a couple days ago, and it was just completely just absurd. Of one of the best defenders in the NBA. That guy is so good. And then just the rest of their team, and CJ really like puts a really sweet bow on the Pelicans. I will say, and this is where I kind of did the little bit caveat of like the health. To me, two of their best three guys, and CJ and Zion, I feel like get injured all the time. Like CJ, we see it consistently, always when he was in Portland, just always getting injured, especially at the worst times. Now that he's even older, let's hope that doesn't happen again. And then Zion, even though Zion's looking like insanely fit and everything, I still don't trust him. I still don't. Like, even though he looks really good, he's probably I wish. Do you know if there's the numbers on his weight? Because I was gonna guess like he's probably 275 when he was generally like when he came to the league
When
like
he was
285. I think it was.
Yeah, when he was bigger, I think he was like two. Like, remember they were saying he was
Yeah.
verging on 280 or
Yeah.
something like that. So I don't know if they've updated those
Yeah.
stats. Like I would hope they did. Let me see if like NBA,
Yeah.
um,
If anything,
NBA
he's
has updated
definitely
stats.
he's definitely over 260, I'd say. Cause like he's still just such a muscular guy. I still think he's definitely over. Actually, I don't know. Do you have it? Is it updated?
So it's still showing up as 284.
Yeah, yeah.
There isn't updated weights yet.
Yeah. Like he's still pretty heavy and he's had all those injuries. I don't know. I don't really trust his amount of force jumping and everything and landing. Um yeah, I don't trust that as much. But with the caveat, if the Pelicans can stay healthy, I actually do think they are good enough to contend. And Brandon Ingram is just also very good. Like they just have so many good stuff. And then the rookie looked pretty nice, Dice Daniels. But I'll let you go. What do you think? Pretenders, contenders.
So um, that's what I'll say first is I think I think you could say I wouldn't say that they're contenders per se to me. They're verging on contenders for me.
Mm-hmm.
They're still in like mid no man's land in my mind. I'm where like not bad, but not great, right? Like I think I need to see a few more things from them to 100% put that down pat in my mind as them as contenders. But they have the blueprints for it, and you know what? Thank the Lakers for it. And then the best
Yeah.
part about it is that they have a few more years from now. They're going to have an abundance of great picks from the Lakers to add on to this to make it even better
True.
for Zion, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like, you look back at it, you look back at that trade, but you look back at it in that sense. The future is really bright for them. I know I've been completely and very openly down on David Griffin, but sometimes
Yes.
you
Yeah.
gotta give credit where it's due, and he's done a phenomenal job on putting together a team that actually can compete. Them being able to do what they were able to do in that first round against the Suns
Mm-hmm.
prove where their minds are and what they're going to be capable of doing, right? So hopefully this is a year they put it all together. I don't necessarily, like I said, put them as a contender yet, but I do think that they are one of those teams that I could easily see surprising going all the way to like a Western Conference Finals. But
Yeah.
I don't guarantee that that's going to happen.
So one comment on the David Griffin stuff. I'm still here for the David Griffin hate. I think so. Yes, the Pelicans are pretty good right now, but it's also what was the situation of the Pelicans? They traded a former number one pick in Anthony Davis, and anytime you do that, especially Anthony Davis in his prime, you trade a guy like that, you're getting an insane amount of assets back, regardless of what happens. And then, oh, just so happened when you do that, you also just get the number one pick that year, and then you get Zion Williamson. Everything else other than that, he really, in my opinion, isn't that crazy. Like the Herb Jones pick or everything, he's not the guy actually scouting Herb Jones. So like, I'm not even giving him that much credit for that. I still think he's a little overrated, especially the the CJ thing. I think was actually pretty nice, but I think that was more just like I don't know. I think that was kind of like an obvious thing, but like I said, I'm still here for the for the David Griffin hate. Uh, we'll see what happens, but no, the Pelicans, I'm very high on them, but not David Griffin.
All right, perfect. All right, I guess the next team on our list is the Los Angeles Clippers. Brian, our contender.
It's kind of crazy looking at this right now. Like, well, so very. I think this is actually just so simple of con- contenders like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. I think, yeah, doesn't even matter what else the team has. You have Kawhi Leonard, Paul George. I think you're kind of set up as a contender, and then just the rest of your team is looking really nice. It's like so a lot of those moves that they made last year, getting like Robert Covington and all that. Man, that team is nice. You pick up John Wall. It's a nice little like a fun kind of signing. I don't think it's I hope I'm wrong in the sense of saying I don't think it's as impactful as maybe some other people think. I don't think John Wall moves the needle like a whole lot. I just think it's really fun to have him. But I just think the rest of your team is really good. And yeah, you just give a whole load management year for Kawhi right there. And this team could do some this team could do some damage. Like they're probably, in my opinion, like my favorites at the moment to win it all. If but this is also like barring everyone's actually healthy, but I think they have a good shot at that. And this team just has so much good stuff. You have a great coach in Ty Lue. Yeah, it's crazy to think of. You have two, in my opinion, contenders in in teams that were out of the playoffs and the play in last season. How do you have the Clippers?
So I agree 100%. They're a contender, but it's funny to think about it like this. It's like, and I'm sure there's going to be a theme. I think throughout this whole list, right? Is and it's honestly an issue. I think is happening in the league. But I think it has always been a part of the league, right? Is injuries, right?
Yeah.
Like injuries is the difference
Hmm.
of whether you're going to win it or not. But I think it's further magnified now than ever. And this is why some teams are opting more to have depth over just sure star power because like sure star power means yeah, like if I lose two of them, like in a case like I'll give the easiest example. Not too long ago, 2 years ago, Nets lost two of their stars, and that was and they still
Yeah.
very well could have won the series, right?
Hmm.
But it showed why they did not win the series, right? It showed why they couldn't go to the finals, right? Same
Yep.
thing with like why I think a lot of teams are opting to having that depth. It's very interesting to see how the Clippers have added depth with these two megastars that they have on
Hmm.
their team. Um, I do think that, in my mind, the biggest threat to what the Warriors are doing out west is them, and it's
Yep.
simply just them. I don't think that there's any other team in my mind that comes close. But
Yep.
it goes to show as well too how much missing Kawhi and missing PG for a majority of the season affected where they were placed playoffs last year. And sure, they're gonna let people remind people why they were in the playoffs, you know.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Like, are they going to be the number one seed? I doubt it. We see all the time the load management. Kawhi is the master of that. Paul George, I feel like every season gets hurt at some point. like, like I don't think they're going to be the number one seed, but I think they're going to be up there and have a decent amount of seeding for themselves. And if the timing's right and everyone's healthy at playoff times, oof, watch out for the Clippers.
Exactly. And then the last play-in team is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Brian, are they pretenders or contenders for you this year?
So I I've been on this podcast and I've been extremely high on the Minnesota Timberwolves this entire time. And I still am extremely high on the Minnesota Timberwolves. But I've also, like, my main thought process is, hey, this team, hey man, they're built for regular season wins right now. I'm not sure they're built for that championship I think they need a little bit more time. It's Anthony Edwards looking insane, but just imagine Anthony Edwards in 2 years. That guy could look even crazier. I'm gonna have the Minnesota Timberwolves sadly as my pretenders right now, and I will say I have 4 contenders in the West and 4 contenders in the East. I had to switch it up and give some love to the Pelicans. But if I didn't have the Pelicans, I would definitely have the Timberwolves here. But actually, I want to get your thoughts because I can kind of I feel like I know what your answer is, but I want to hear you from Minnesota.
I flipped the script completely, man.
A
This
word?
is definitely one of my contenders. I
Yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
for the same reasons, but varying different ways,
Mm-hmm.
is why I choose them to be my contenders.
Yep.
One of the contenders out west for me is Anthony Edwards. I think is never going to have a more opportune situation where the
Mm-hmm.
pressure of being able to become a star is going to be easier for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now with this dynamic twin tower of versatility in the front court that he's going to be working with now, having Cat playing in a role where similar to Anthony Davis when he was
Mm-hmm.
when he just joined the Lakers and they had Dwight Howard starting the five. He has a more natural role that fits him, allows for him to be a less beating him up in the pose and just fighting with guys in the paint, right? He's able to now extend his range, space it out a little bit better, which in my mind, in turns, makes it a lot easier for Anthony Edwards to explode to the rim. Obviously, I know Gobert is going to still be there, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of pick and roll play is going to come from that on Anthony Edwards' part, where he gets, he's going to have more opportunities to get Gobert involved in the offense in that sense. Um, we always talk about that infamous stat that said that I swear it was like one like towards the end of their tenure together, Donovan Mitchell only passed Gobert like
Oh
three
yeah.
or two to three times a game or something like that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember the exact stat, but like that's ridiculous, right? So like think about how Anthony Edwards could follow into that same mold of what worked with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert early on when they were together and fitting that into his game. And then also Rudy Gobert, we talked about it while he was in Utah about how much he was just a one man defensive
Mm-hmm.
um, team himself, right? So now with him on this team, why would I believe that it wouldn't be the same thing, right? I think he's going to put everything together, and then I think there's not enough talk about what D'Lo brings and the cohesion of the offense and facilitating for this team. I think that they are primed to have a good year, and you're going to be surprised who I pushed down as a pretender because I put them up as a contender.
Oh, okay. No, I like I said, I was very close to putting the Minnesota Timberwolves as contenders. I think I agree with you on all those points. Like it's even like a pickup like Hal Anderson. I think is just so nice. Like it's so nice for that team. I think that team is so good. I don't know. I feel like they need a little bit more experience, kind of similar to what we saw with like Memphis last year. Like we know that team was really good, just needed a little bit more experience. And I feel like, especially if they go against Golden State, Rudy Gobert is like, all right, yeah, one man defense in the paint. Yeah, we just shoot threes where this guy's not in the paint. I that's why I'm not too crazy there. I think, but I'm still, Minnesota is going to be very good.
Saw them yesterday as well too. I just thought about that, and
Yes, yes.
I was thinking about Jimmy Butler, and then realizing Carl actually hasn't played because he has like a viral
Yeah.
a viral infection or something. That's not COVID. That caused him to lose like 21 pounds or something like that. I saw.
Yeah, and I thought I heard that he was just walking or running or whatever it was. Like he just started again. That
Yeah.
sounds pretty crazy. I wonder if that. How was the game yesterday? I'm curious
It
because yes,
was,
for the listeners,
it,
Jeff went to the Minnesota Miami game yesterday preseason.
Now, it was good to see Money Man, new Money Man in Miami, Tyler Hero, get, you know, with a smile on his face because he just got paid, right?
Yeah,
No, I think it definitely was good to see both of these teams get some runs. Jimmy Butler didn't play.
yeah,
It was good to see Miami, I don't think nothing ever changes with Miami. They're always going to be grit and grind type of
hmm,
team. So that was good to see. It was good to see, like you mentioned, Kyle Anderson get his first touches with this team. Anthony Edwards, always, like I said, he looks good. He always looks good in my mind.
hmm,
It was definitely good to see their team, to see them play for a little bit. But like we said, it's preseason ball. It wasn't as
yeah.
exciting as a regular season game, but definitely was happy to see that. I didn't. Gobert didn't play either, so
Hmm.
it was just Anthony Edwards we were able to see.
Yeah, in a regular season game, that matchup's pretty insane. Like that's a very fun game. Preseason, you get to see some bums out there, but at the same time, you saw Anthony Edwards, so hey, it's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah, you got your couple licks,
Yeah,
see a couple
yeah.
guys that, oh, he's doing pretty well right
Yeah,
there,
yeah. Come.
But that's it. That's all you got.
Nice, nice. But I'm glad you were able to go.
All right. I was happy to go too.
Mhm.
All right, let's move on to the East Coast playing teams. We'll start off with the 10th seed, not New Orleans, the Charlotte Hornets. Brian, are they pretenders or contenders?
I do I even have
Simple,
to
right?
answer this one? Yeah,
Easy, right?
this is
We
yeah,
might have
like
to just, yeah,
yeah.
consensus is that they're pretenders.
Miles
Let's move
Bridges
on to number
gone.
nine.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some stuff
Oh,
yesterday about, or
is
either
there
it
no?
was this morning, that they let his what is it, the option, his
Oh,
qualifying option, let it expired. So that's it.
really?
It looks
Nah.
like that could be
I thought they picked
it
it up a while ago.
for his
Wow, that's
career.
crazy. Yeah, he's he's done. Yeah, yeah. Offer to expire,
Yep.
like you're saying. Yeah,
Yep. So,
he's
all right,
done.
let's move on to number
Okay.
nine. Number nine, the Atlanta Hawks. Are they contenders or pretenders, Brian?
You
It's a
know
little
me,
hot
man.
here soon.
Yeah, yeah. You know me, man. Atlanta hater number one. No, I mean I actually do think this team's pretty good. I think the last time I was here talking about Atlanta, I was like, man, DeJounte Murray, Trey Young, that's not gonna work out. I can actually see it working out. I do like the team a lot. I just think there's so many other better teams than them. They just get pushed to the side. That's a pretender for me. What do you got?
Yeah, no, it's pretty easy for me too. I think they're not even like how I said middling, like no man's land.
Hmm.
I don't think they're there either yet. It is good to see them put a collection of players together.
Yeah.
Maybe they have like one of those surprise years where they can run to the second round. That, but
Yeah.
I really don't see anything past that. The East is too much of a tough squeeze this year for
Hmm.
us to think that what happened 2 years ago is going to happen again for them. And yeah, that's just how I feel about them.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think of like how weak the East was when like you have New York as the fourth seed, Atlanta as the fifth seed, Atlanta make it to the conference finals. Like now, now it's like no, that's not happening again anytime soon.
That was like a wake up call.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I guess now we had to go to the eighth seed, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Brian is getting a little spicy now, man. What are you thinking, man?
All right, all right. I think this one, if anything, I mean, most of the teams I'm looking at on the East, like they're pretty easy, like contenders. I think this is probably the spiciest one for me, and I'm gonna have the Cleveland Cavaliers as contenders. I just I've been consistent with like, oh, this team is young kind of stuff. But looking at all their pieces, man, they just fit together so well. I even though Evan Mobley's young, to me, it's like kind of equivalent when I keep bringing up the Memphis Grizzlies of, yeah, the rest of the team is young, but like John Morant's that guy. I think Evan Mobley's that guy. Have Jared Allen, your boy, like he's defensive right there, going to cover up for Donovan Mitchell. Just traded for Donovan Mitchell. Essentially, in my opinion, like really did not give up a lot. You gave up a guy you didn't want, a draft pick that you didn't have a ton of space for. I was going to be coming off your bench, and Lauri Markkanen, who you were hoping to also get off of, and a bunch of draft picks. Like, if this team is stacked, they're looking so good. Their coach is one of the best young coaches in the NBA, especially when that list is getting shorter. But yeah, man, Cleveland's is going to be nice. And so far, as we're playing, their Cleveland is playing, and I don't know. I actually don't know the score, but the first half, Donovan Mitchell was looking pretty nice. What do you got?
No, I think that's an easy one for both of us too. It's like, yeah, they're one of the teams that I see as a clear contender in the East. They're head and shoulders amongst the young teams in the East, where like they have young players, but they're like these are like solidified players. And then now to have a bona fide guy like Donovan Mitchell leading their team only makes it even better. The depth on this team even speaks to they're able to make a trade like that for Donovan Mitchell. For some teams, giving up Lauri Markkanen and giving up someone like a Colin Sexton is something you can't do. Even
Yeah.
if you know they're not top flight players, but like to have these guys on your disposal and it does not affect your team is like ridiculous in
Crazy.
depth that you have, right? So, yeah, no, I think these guys are clearly contenders, and there's nothing more else to say beyond what you said.
Yeah. Very fair. Very fair.
So now we get to the, you know, awkward and a very awkward team to talk about. The Brooklyn Nets.
Yes.
Brian, pretenders are contenders.
Even now, honestly, I'm like going back and forth in my head of, do I want to push one team out, one team in? I I think I'm gonna go. My gut is telling me to go Pretender. I will say I'm a little sad to say this. I've been one of the highest people on the Brooklyn Nets this entire time. I think they're gonna be still very good. And like there's some pretenders I say like, yeah, no, they're done. They're out of here. The Brooklyn Nets, I think they're to me, there's just kind of a little bit too many question marks. And until some of those question marks are answered, I feel like I can't give them the contender status yet. And I was very close to honestly just say yes, they're a contender, just purely based off of Kevin Durant. Like you got Kevin Durant on your team. It's my mind, most of the time, like you're a contender. The health thing sometimes scares me a bit. Kyrie is a big question mark. Steven Nashville, big question mark if he should even still be coaching the team. Ben Simmons is back and everything. That scares me slightly.
No puns intended.
Yeah. Like, I like a lot of the offseason moves they made. I think, like I said, I could very easily switch my mind on this, especially midway through the season. But very early on, I'm gonna have to say Pretender. I'm sorry, I know this is your team, but what do you have?
Oh, I have no ill will to that. I feel no ill will to that. Because I think I've been saying it all summer, is that this is definitely a volatile team, and it's
Yeah.
hard to assess what is are they truly going to be this year, right? So I think they're just like how I said for the Pelicans, no man's land. I think the Nets right now in my mind live in no man's land. There's no one that could tell me that they're going to either be really good or there's no one that could tell me they're going to be really really bad. You know, like it could go either way. It could
Yeah.
really go either way. It was shown in the GM survey that was taken earlier this week, where I think the Nets were voted like 70% of the league's GMs voted, and I'm probably skewing these numbers, but a good majority of the GMs in the league voted that the Nets were the hardest team to predict what they're going to be this year.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense because you just don't know how it's going to mesh. All I can say is as much as we were talking about the Suns, and I was listening to a pod earlier this week where they were saying, in training camp, you can't necessarily win, but you definitely can lose training camp, right? The Suns clearly lost training camp, right?
Yeah.
You see, Nets did not.
I agree.
They said the right things. They were transparent. They wanted to move on. Kyrie looks invigorated to play purposely, right? In this year, in that first preseason game they played, you could see the energy Kyrie had on a hustle level.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I've never seen Kyrie diving for balls.
Pause.
I can't say it, but yeah, no, like he had an intensity to him that you don't usually see.
I agree.
Ben Simmons was already looked fluid with how Ben Simmons playmaking looked. And obviously Katie's Katie, so there's nothing much to say on that. But as I said, this whole podcast, it's still just a preseason, nothing to be too excited about. But you do like to see how it's trending. You like to see that even though it's just been a couple days, there's no drama. I could not say that last year. We went into training camp with literally a heat missile starting from the moment training camp started. So to have a couple days where you could breathe and not think about Kyrie's about to say something, KD's about to say something, James Harden's about to come fat, what I mean? None of that you had to worry about this year.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good in my mind.
I will kind of push back, and I do kind of feel like they did win the media day training camp stuff in my eyes, just because of like before that even just a week before media day happened, it seemed like it was going to be a huge dumpster fire in Brooklyn. And then you have Ben Simmons going on the JJ Redick podcast and like sounding really good.
If the Nets win a championship, they need to send a ring to JJ Redick, because I swear to God, Brian, that I think that's what led to us having that positive first week.
Yeah.
Like having that reconfirmed and then having him talk very confidently about himself in training camp. The transparency you were hearing from both of those guys, Katie and Kyrie. It definitely kick-started that. But only preseason, like we said again, and we shall see. And like I said, if they win a championship this year, they better start getting JJ Redick's fingers sized up so they could give him a ring, because he definitely kick-started that.
Hey, he wanted to go to Brooklyn. He wanted to go to Brooklyn.
He did. Oh, I'm not gonna lie, in that podcast too. Ben Simmons did try to see if he could recruit him at the end. I did remember hearing that. But,
yeah, that's funny.
It is what it is, but here we go. So now for our West 1 through 6 seeds, we
Mhm.
got for number 6 the Denver Nuggets. Brian, are they pretenders or contenders?
I have the Denver Nuggets. I feel like I've been pretty consistently like extremely high on the Denver Nuggets. To me they're a contender, and it's very weird that I'm looking at all these West teams and I'm like contingent on injuries. And even this is kind of another one that like Jamal Murray just coming back, especially Michael Porter. I mean, I talked about Ben Simmons' back a little bit, but like Michael Porter and his back, that thing has been scaring me since he's been drafted. And like he's extremely good. He looked so good in his first preseason game back, like never missed a step. His shot, he has to have one of like the prettiest jumpers I've seen, especially like what is he like 6'10"? It's so
Yeah.
nice, it's so smooth. Um, but yeah, you got Jokic. I think it's kind of self-explanatory. I'm very high this year on Bones Highland, big fan of him. But yeah, to me, contender. I think Denver Nuggets. Just I, I I said it last year. Like, hey, if they got those two guys back, they're a contender in my eye, and they're looking the part again so far. And I don't think they've missed too much of a beat. What do you got?
300%. I think it goes beyond that too. You gotta. Shaq always talks about this: is the other guys are the ones that win you your championship,
Yeah.
right? Um, them being able to add in the last 2 summers, Jeff Green and Bruce Brown
Bruce
to this
Brown.
team are two very good energy guys to add on to what they're able to do and provide to their team. You brought up Bones Highland. Yeah, he was going off last year, man. Like he
Hmm.
really seems like one of those guys. Once you give him the opportunity, um, um, he's gonna blow up, right? Um, Still got guys like I'm hoping he's still there, but Will Barton
No,
still be he's not
he's
there
not.
anymore.
Contavious Cowboy Pope is on the team now.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh man, I think
Yeah,
I'm
no
gonna have to
Boba
turn him
Bart.
to pretenders now. Man. I'm just playing, but where's Will Barton then?
Washington, I want to say, right?
Damn, it
Let's
was a
see.
straight up trade.
It was kind of close. Yeah, he's in Washington. Hmm.
There we go. Well, all right. So
Yeah,
scratch that.
it's Monty
I
Morris. All right, Will Barr and Monty Morris for KCP and Ish Smith.
okay,
Who Ish Smith is nice.
okay. Smith has had his games. He's known as a net killer around these parts. But yeah, no, then KCP definitely a good ad. Actually, yes, that does remind me that a KCP over the offseason did say that he felt like this was a team that could easily been the one that was hoisting the Larry OB the
Mm,
year that they won when he was on the Lakers, because that team was just as talented as them to win it all, right? So I agree 100%. They're contenders in my mind as well. Let's move on to number 5. Brian, I don't think we have to move. We have to stay on this one that long. But is the Utah Jazz? Are they pretenders or are they contenders?
yeah, this is San Antonio Spurs level right here. Straight pretenders.
Hey, Brian, I'm ready to surprise you
Hey,
right now, man.
yeah,
I
Laurie
got them.
Markkinen, bro.
I got them as a pretend. I got them as a contender for about 5 years if they get Victor. So there we go. There we go. But I guess we can move on to
Yeah.
number 4 in the West. The Dallas Mavericks.
Mm.
Saw how they did this season, last season. Pretenders are contenders, Brian.
This is I mean, I guess it's kind of obvious right now if I said if listeners are paying attention, I said I had 4 West teams as contenders. I've already named 3. And then there's a team that won a championship before. So like, you know, right now I have to have Dallas Mavericks as the pretenders of just I I love Dallas. I think I love Luca. I've been shouting from rooftops how good Luca was going to be for all this time. I even our last pod I said I think he's going to be MVP. At the time I kind of thought it was more of a little bit of a hot take, but not really. Now that I'm noticing, like I think he's like the odds favorite, and like I think everyone's kind of expecting
He's
a
like
huge year from
he's
him.
like odds favorite. He's like odds favorite like almost every year. I'm pretty close to it.
Yeah,
He's just been that good of a player, man.
he's
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 really
been
that good of a
he's been
player.
so good. I just think, I don't know why. What it kind of moved me to move them to a pretender. It's the whole weird Christian Wood thing that's happening, where you
Yeah.
have Jason Kidd saying this man's coming off the bench, and Christian Wood saying this is news to me. I don't know what is happening, and it's just I don't know. And you lose Jalen Brunson. You have all this kind of weird stuff happening. They want to use Christian Wood as their sixth man. It's weird. I don't like it.
I really hope it's not Jason Kidd heading back into that Jedi mind trick mode of him again. Like no one needs to
Yeah.
see that again. But it does scream of that. It does. It really does scream of
It
that.
does.
Um, but yeah, no, I think I'm of the same boat. They're not like really emphatic pretenders in my mind. It's just yeah, like right now
Yeah.
it's starting to smell a little weird over there,
Yeah.
and you're wondering what's going on, So I think yeah, that's
Yeah, like they really didn't make a
just
whole
saying
lot of
that.
moves. Like, what was the move? JaVale McGee, and then you have Christian Wood paying your sixth man. Like, it's
Yeah.
just yeah, it's not it, not it.
See, I want to believe that they'll integrate Jalen Hardy,
Yeah,
or Jaden Hardy.
yeah, Jaden,
Am I getting it right? Jaden.
Jaden.
Yeah, Jaden Hardy into this team pretty well, and
Hmm.
he'll become a viable, you know, facilitator, facilitator and scorer in that sense, to Luca and Spencer Dinwiddie. But
Hmm.
it's just that's very wishful thinking in my mind right now. A lot of media day was spent around them asking questions about who's going to be that tertiary like ball handler. I really don't think it should be a problem if Spencer Dinwiddie is okay with going off the bench again.
Yeah,
But if they're planning to start Luca and Spencer Dinwiddie, yes, it's going to be a problem. It's definitely going to be a problem.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. It's a little funky. I do like them having Tim Hardaway Jr. back, but I don't know. It's the team is. I think the team's still going to be very good. I think they're going to be one of the top teams. I just don't think they have enough to win a championship against some of these other teams, like the Clippers and
Yeah,
Golden State
I
and them.
agree. Well, that leads us to the
Yeah.
Golden State Warriors. Last year's champions. Brian, are they pretenders or contenders?
Yes, it's another pretty self-explanatory. Golden State. They won it all. They've, in my opinion, probably have gotten even better. Klay Thompson wasn't even at his full power, and now he's coming back for a full season. I think this team is so good. I Golden State all the way, contenders.
I agree. I put them as contenders in my books as well. They definitely uh, have proven that you should not doubt this team.
Yeah,
They're especially if they're like you said earlier. This is literally like the caution for most teams in the West is if they stay healthy
yeah,
because they are just it's really that fragile in the West. I
it
think it
is.
is the same in the East as well too. It's just the NBA in general.
Hmm.
Is if one of these star players go down, we could very well see finals odds being shifted. We even saw that with the Warriors last year, where when Steph Curry had like a blistering hot
Yeah.
like start of the season where everyone and their moms thought that Steph Curry was going to be the MVP. He gets hurt, come back down to earth. People start doubting the Warriors, saying like, yeah, they'll be lucky to make it to the finals, and then they find it again and they win the championship, right? So,
Hmm.
yeah, like it's as simple as that. But yeah, it's easy to say that these guys are contenders, and if Steph Curry is still on this team, Klay Thompson's still on this team, Draymond Green is still on this team, I don't think there's going to be a year where I will ever change in my mind. So
Yeah. Well
it's
said.
easy to move on from.
Yeah.
I guess number two, home of the Single. You know the words, because I'm free. Do you not know what I'm talking about,
I
Brian?
don't. I don't. I will say
Oh man.
I'm always terrible with like someone spells in front of me. My brain doesn't compute, and I don't even try to attempt to, to spell it to think about it.
Oh my god. So there was a recent Memphis rapper that surfaced, and her
Oh.
song is about single girls.
Oh
And
no, I
like
did not know.
that's the lyrics right there. Single. You know what that means? Cause I'm
Uh.
free. Can't say the other words.
Yeah.
It's a lot of cursing. So
Ah,
I
wow.
live without those words.
You
But
know
it's
me. I
talking
only
about
listen. I only listen to Rod Wave. That's my whole playlist is Rod Wave. So any new music, I don't know, man. I'm out of the loop.
I'll put you on to this one. This might not
Alright.
be this might not be an anthem for us, but
Yeah, yeah.
she's based out of Memphis. She actually did the Memphis Grizzlies hype video this year.
Really?
Um,
Wow.
I'll make sure to send you this video.
All right.
It's definitely interesting.
All right, listeners, check it
after
out
after
too.
the pod.
I'm very intrigued
Um,
now.
but yes, so our next team is the Memphis Grizzlies. Brian, pretenders or contenders?
I think for the loyal listeners that have been following every episode very closely, it is a pretty kind of easy stance of where at least I am on the Grizzlies. I'm very high on John Morant, seeing him all the time. Like the guy is so good. I just don't, and I like his attitude. He's so competitive and everything. Um, I just don't think. I kind of think the team got worse, in my opinion. Like, yeah, no, they have another year under their belt. There's a young team. You always love to see that, and you expect some pretty good progression from a lot of the younger guys. But I just think the team got worse. Like, I think losing a Kyle Anderson, losing a DeAnthony Melton, I kind of think those little pieces kind of matter. And I'm just not as high. I think some of these other teams, especially when you have a uh, Clippers coming back into the fold, you have a revamped Minnesota Timberwolves and Pelicans and all this other stuff. Like, I just think they kind of slide back a bit. They'll still be good, but just slide back. What do you have the Memphis Grizzlies as?
I was gonna spell it out, just follow into the theme of what I was doing. And, but I decided, you know what, I ain't gonna do it. But they
Yeah,
are pretenders in my mind.
pretenders.
I don't think they've always. I thought this was gonna be the one that shocked me, but I guess we're on the same page with this
Yes,
one.
yes.
Is that I agree 100%. I think that um, a lot of the reason why I feel this way is um, a lot of about how they view themselves or how they
Yeah,
they go about things, right? Um, I wouldn't say that emotions is the only reason why I would say that they're pretenders in my mind, but I think that they value themselves at a level that I don't think that they are ready to understand that they're not there yet, right?
agreed.
Like they love to fight with the Warriors. We see the conversations starting again on Twitter with them and the Warriors. We saw them have a very tough series with the T Wolves, right? And in that series, I think it showed to me, I started to believe that the that that's when I believe that the T Wolves could become a contender at some point. But then now having like a guy like Gobert just amplifies that in my mind to believe that their levels above
Mhm.
Grizzlies in my mind. The issue of why I can't put them there though really stems from, is Ja gonna stay healthy? Like you just don't know.
Yeah.
No one ever really knows how he plays. So I fear that that's gonna be their downfall, and that's it.
Yeah, like I don't know. Everyone else got better, and they kind of took a step back. And it's just, why should we expect if they weren't good enough last year and they took a step back? Why should we say they're contenders again when there's obviously better
Exactly.
teams right now? It makes it tough.
Exactly. And once again, just a plug for that song, Brian. The name of the song is FNF. And I want you to figure out what that means.
Okay,
Like, when,
I
when I,
wait.
it's definitely not appropriate to be
Yeah,
talking about
it's
on
so
the
weird. Like, I'm only 25, and I feel like such a boomer now. Anytime I hear like any new acronym, like or I hear a new phrase, like, why is this? That doesn't even make sense, and it's just so, it's bad. It's bad.
Oh my god. All right, so let's move on to the Valley of the Sun, the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, I mean, we just
Brian,
did a whole
contenders, contenders.
we just did a whole
Yeah, I think it's
segment on them.
crazy,
Yeah, yeah.
crazy.
It's pretty easy pretenders right here. If
Right.
anything, for the listeners,
Same.
just like wind back into the beginning of the episode, and then you can listen to that again and that insert here, like pretty much.
Perfect. All right, man. So let's move on to the East now. Number 6 in the land of the Bulls, Chicago
The Windy
Bulls.
City.
I was trying to think of something else, man.
Yeah,
I didn't know
the
what
land
to
of the
say.
Bulls.
Did you realize I did that with the Suns too? The Valley of the Sun.
Oh, I mean, it is like hot over there, so like, yeah, I kind of get that one, but land of the Bulls.
Yeah, the Bulls, man.
I think so. Chicago, I was pretty low on them last season. And then they kind of surprised me. And then injuries happened, and then everything went completely downhill. I'm going to have to put them as a pretender again. And I would kind of say, well, one, I think even at full health, I would have them as a pretender. But the whole Lonzo Ball situation is just so strange. It's kind of sad to see. I really like Lonzo Ball. I think he's a very good player. Is he like an all-star? No, he's just like he's a very solid role player in my opinion. Maybe he has some nights where he looks like an all-star, but that's like 8 a year. Yeah, I just don't think the rest of the team is just good enough. And they also didn't make any moves. They've used all their assets, and I just don't really see how they're gonna get better, unless one of their like Patrick Williams gets better. But other than that, he's just not gonna have enough ball touches. Pause. But like, yeah, no, like Chicago pretenders. What do you got?
No, in the land of the bull, man, like, it's just like, I think about last year, like the surprise run that they went on. It was miraculous to see what they were doing in that first half of the season. It felt reinvigorating listening on Old Man and Three, hearing
Yeah.
DeMar DeRozan saying like, "Hey, like we learned from last year. Like we're not gonna let this happen again. And we're hungry now." you're gonna stay hungry because you're a pretender, bro. Like, there's no way, there ain't no way, there ain't no way I'm putting you guys as contenders, bro. I'm sorry, man. I love his game.
Yeah,
I love Zach Levine's game too.
true.
But like, man, I'm sorry, man. You're staying a pretender. It's
Yeah.
too tough in the East this year for me to, even with a healthy Lonzo, to believe that they're going to come out the same way they did last year, right? Like they could have everything work in their favor, and I could still see them as the sixth seed,
Yep.
and that's the sad truth of what it feels like in the East right now. And I don't think we need to go any more beyond that.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty easy in
Well
my
said.
mind.
Well said.
Number five, in the land above. In the land above, the land of the land of the Canadians, the most bustling city in Ontario, the Toronto Raptors. Are they contenders? Are contenders, Brian?
Just for rapid fire sakes, I'm gonna have Toronto as pretenders. It very kind of, I think they were in a similar situation in Chicago, but actually like way better in the sense of like their outlook for the future. They have so many avenues to get better and become better. So high on Scotty Barnes, but I just don't think it's their year. All these other teams are championship ready, in my opinion. And then you have Toronto there, like knocking on the door. And even next year, they could get there. I just don't think they're there yet. And what do you think?
I agree. The ceiling is the roof. But I'm sorry, I gotta stop. But,
No, it's good.
no, like I think they do have a bright future.
Yeah.
That it, Scotty Barnes. That's all you need to say,
Yeah.
man. Like it starts and it ends with him. Pascal Siakam and Freddie are definitely is viable pieces that they have, and they're going to be and they're easily going to be in a playoff team. They're just not contenders yet. They need to find that one last piece, or they have to wait till Scotty gets to that point. You know. So number 4 in the city of brotherly love. I got that one.
There you go. There you go.
we got the Philadelphia 76ers, Brian. Pretenders are contenders.
I am going to have this team as contenders. You know, you have skinny, supposedly skinny James Harden and everything. You know, he's playing today. I saw a little bit of him, and he's looking pretty good. He's looking pretty good right now. Would like to see him keep up that motivation and everything. Joel Embiid is, you know, every year in the talks of MVP. If it wasn't for Jokic, this man would be like MVP so many times already. I like the pickup of like PJ Tucker. Yo, Tyrese Maxey. That Tyrese Maxey's nice. Like, every year he's looking better and better. It's still crazy to me how he went in the 20s in the draft, and yeah, I just think Philly's actually looking pretty good. Same thing we keep talking about health wise, like, you know, Joel has this injury history. James Harden, if he did these last couple seasons, especially because we were hoping it's because of his weight. Hopefully now that's fixed. I just think this team feels focused to me. Did you get that same vibe? What do you think?
No, I've been saying this since all season. They're easy contenders. I think they're my favorites to win the chip this year. As much as it hurts me to say those words, but I think that they've done all of the right moves. Tyrese Maxey is primed to have a breakout season. Some will argue it was last year, but like I mentioned before, the ceiling's the roof. and like when you know the ceiling's the roof, that anything is possible. So with that in mind, they clearly are a team that are going to be a reckoning in the East on the defensive side and on the offensive side. The depth on the team has been expanded. It's not talked about a lot, but like, no matter if it was for optics or not, Harden taking $15 million less is very impactful, and some of the reasons why they're able to add the players that they have right now.
Do you think, or how long do you think their championship window is?
Oh, it's 2 years.
2 years?
2 years.
I think that's
Because
about right.
I don't think Harden
Yeah.
holds on a lot more than those 2 years.
I feel like they also know that too. Because I'm even thinking, I'm like, they really just don't have a lot. If you didn't say 2 years, I was even thinking like even just this year. Like I think this team is very like is primed to do something. Like this is their time. They got to take it if they're gonna win a championship at any time.
With this
Yeah, yeah. With the school,
current
yeah,
issue of team.
exactly.
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
think you move on. You move
yeah.
on from. I think Joel Embiid asks to move on at that point if it takes that long.
Exactly. It's because I'm even thinking, I feel like, I don't know their draft pick situation, but they've made so many like big moves that I feel like they really don't have a lot left after this. Like they have a lot of really good, like veteran kind of signings and all that. But James Harden's value is not going to be as high 2 years from now. And then the only other player that would have high trade value, well, aside from Joel Embiid, is Maxi, and you don't really want to trade him. So like, I don't really see a lot of avenues for them to get better. And then these next 2 years are like pivotal for them. So interesting time in Philly.
I don't know if this one will be that appropriate, but I'm going to use this one. In the land of Jeffrey Dahmer, Milwaukee Bucks. He's the toast of the land right now. He's talked about every day now. So
Yes,
I guess
yes.
that's the one we can start with. But the
Yeah.
Milwaukee Bucks.
The Milwaukee Bucks. Uh, so yeah, I was just Giannis. You know, Giannis. You got the rest of the team. Like they're kind of the same team as they've always been, and just maybe some slight improvements here and there. Like this team's good, contender. I really do think if they if Chris Middleton was healthy last season, they could have been championships again, champions again.
Now it's scary because like, do you call a contender that's more than a contender, right?
Yeah.
Like the more I think about it each and every day, I'm like, this team got better. Like they're
Yeah.
able to add guys like Joe Ingles over this offseason. Like
Yeah.
it's ridiculous how this team remains as good as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the type of team you don't need to motivate, right? And they just now found another reason to be more motivated because they have their guys sidelined in the in the playoffs, right? So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a ridiculous year for them, and we'll see
Mm-hmm.
how that goes. Easy to move on to this next team, the land of lucky, Boston Celtics. Pretenders are contenders, Brian.
So we mentioned a little bit earlier about the Boston Celtics, or just very slight mention of, hey, the coaching situation, this and that. Um, I I'm actually still very high on this team. I don't think it's something, or I think it's the chances of them coming out of this on the right side is higher than it not. I'm actually gonna have them as contenders. I just think the Jason Tatum stuff is like Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, like those two guys are just that good. I don't think missing Robert Williams for the first half or first 3 months or anything is really that impactful for them. If you can actually come back healthy and be ready for like playoff time, I think that's amazing. Um, I don't think their schemes are really going to be that different when they lose Idoka. Like this other guy is, at least from what I hear, like not going to change much, and they're still going to be very good. And then I'm pretty high on the Malcolm Brogdon pickup. I'm just pretty high on Malcolm Brogdon in general. And if you have him like coming off your bench, maybe he doesn't play as many minutes and get injured like he always does, but I like that a lot. I'm just pretty high on this team, even with all this turmoil. But what do you got?
Disagree. I'm going to completely avoid. So now, I'm going to use an example of what happened last year. Obviously, a lot more turmoil, a lot more frustration, a lot weird situation to go out of. Right? But these things sit on you like a cloud of darkness, right?
Yeah.
Like these type of dramas, right? The fact that there's no resolution in the Udoka situation, not only are these guys going to be answering questions about it, these people are going to think about it. The team is going to have to think about it at some point, right?
Yeah.
Why even have your players have to deal with that? You cut ties, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you knew he did something egregious, you cut ties with him. If you know, like, he didn't do something egregious, even if it went against your policy, you wouldn't need to give him a years long suspension.
Yeah.
So it's clear cut in my mind how you handle that situation. I don't think it's fair to the players that they had to live with it. And it's not fair to now this interim coach to live in so much ambiguity with his situation. Because, like, think about it like this. I understand they're saying he's going to follow the same schemes as Udoka, but don't you think that there's going to be a moment where he's going to feel or he's going to overcompensate because he's fighting for his job, right? Because very well it could be a new coaching staff next year and he could very well be on another team. So he's fighting for the ability to become or remain that head coach, right?
Yeah.
So there's just way too much uncertainty with the situations, and it's all goes back to the guy that I started last year not liking him too, but Brad Stevens, man, Brad Stevens, man.
Yeah.
Like, I know he had a good run last year, but I just say, and obviously we gotta always preface it with we still don't know 100% what happened, right? So there's not we can't speak on this with absolutes, but man, like, even if there was an inch of issues, I just fired a guy and we never think about this again. We move forward. This is gonna hang over them like a dark cloud in my mind, and I think that's why I can't right now call them a contender.
I think that's very fair. I 100% agree in the sense of, like, I think you just fire. I think you just fire Doka. Like, if there's anything there, broke your terms of conduct, whatever it is. I think he's just done. I don't. It's just weird to have. All right, your head coach is suspended, and then now you have this other guy taking over, and what we're supposedly in a year again supposed to come back and be this happy family, and then the guy who was the interim head coach is going back to be your assistant and all that, and he was just running the team for the last year. And what if that team actually did really well under him or anything like that? Do you give him a demotion after he does a good job? Like, it's so many weird stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. I'm not too crazy about the job thing or the head coach situation. I think just the players are good enough to combat that. But I can see it either way. But I think the Boston Celtics are still all right. I think they'll come out the other side of this. Okay.
All right. And lastly, in the city of ice, Miami Heat.
Yeah.
Pretenders or contenders, Brian?
All right, Jeff. I'm sorry to do this. I know this is your real team now. You know, you switched over. Actually, did you switch back now that Kevin Durant's staying over? But
You know it, Brian. You already know it. I'm back. back to the right side,
Oh
to the
yeah.
right side, the right team. I never left. I never left,
Never
Brian.
left. Not once wavered. but I will say for Miami, I think it's kind of similar to the Memphis Grizzlies situation of I don't really think the team got better. I mean, did they get worse? I actually will say I don't think they really got worse. But yeah, I just don't really think they got better. They didn't do anything. Everyone else around them got considerably better, in my opinion. And then you have Miami just like they're gonna be good. I like them, but good enough. We have to see like their players, like someone like Bam take a step up. Kyle Lowry do better than last year. Anything could be better than last year. Tyler Hero was already pretty good last year. Duncan Robinson, he gave him that giant contract and sit him on the bench. It's it's a little. It's just not enough for me. Maybe maybe if Jimmy Butler puts those dreadlocks back on, then maybe they got a chance. Maybe I'll
I
switch my
can't.
mind.
I can't believe he took them off.
He took
I
him
just
off.
can't believe he took them off. I was looking forward to seeing them last night. But he took them off.
He took him off. It's
Anyways,
crazy.
anyways, no, I disagree. I still consider them a contender. Any team that comes that close to making it to the finals, yeah, they fought tooth and nails with the Boston Celtics, and very well could have been the team that was representing the East. You know, I still believe in what they have. Yes, I agree the East has gotten considerably better, right? But I still think that when it comes to that moment towards the end of the season, they will be one of those teams that we're considering as one of the best for the output that they're going to bring out. I think you brought up what could go negative in my mind
Yeah, yeah,
with like the Duncan Robinson, but like let's think about the things that can go positive or continue to stay positive, like the Max Struises
yeah.
of this team.
Very good.
Tyler Hero, you already brought up. I think with this contract, it's gonna bode for him to be bumped up into as a starter because I don't think there's anyone in the NBA that should be being paid $130 million. That should be on the bench. So
Yeah,
this should give him or open up the doors for him having more opportunities to expand his games and actually compare and contrast his game against some of the best in the league. I've thought that that's one thing that's been holding him back was having him as that sixth man. And honestly, another guy that I'm very high on for the Heat is Gabe Vincent. He did a very good job in the absence of Kyle Lowry for a lot of the season. I think he'll prove to be a pretty good sixth man for them this season.
yeah. No, I definitely. That's the thing. I think I said this earlier. There definitely is levels to the Pretenders thing, and I think the Miami Heat are as close as you can probably get to Contenders. In my opinion, it's just I look at it and like in a 7 game series, are they beating Philly? Are they beating Milwaukee? And then Boston at its they lost to Boston at its best, and then Boston got even better, picking up like Brogdon. And then Cleveland, I think is going to be very dangerous this year. It's I just wish they did something. I wish they made a move in this off season.
I agree.
So I like our list. We agree on most. I think we've been pretty consistent with like the I've been higher on or I've been low on Miami this entire time, and you're still keeping it strong with Miami over there. But since we're already a little bit long here, let me get some of your first thoughts, and we could wrap it up with this. But first thoughts on some preseason ball, any standouts to you? What are your
Oh,
thoughts there?
Oh yeah, two guys, rookies that I'll talk about.
Oh, okay.
Jabari Smith Jr. Fabulous against San
Mm-hmm.
Antonio in his first game, having 21 points, 5 of 8 from 3 point, um, from the 3 point, and shooting around 53% from the game. The guy is as advertised.
Yeah.
He could have very well been the number one pick. I think that you know obviously, like we said, it's the preseason. Don't go too
Yeah.
crazy. But being able to see him look like this is definitely heading in the right momentum of what you want to see out of a player that's starting their career. And I'm going to say this too, because, when I was looking at the stats, and it's kind of weird to think about this now, but now seeing guys in the leagues that were born in 2003, it's kind of like, oh, I can't even believe
Crazy.
that. Like,
Crazy.
but, but then my second, and then I'll have one team in my, uh, I'll just say what I'll say, but uh, this is the second player that I wanted
Hmm.
to mention. Another player that had amazing first game in the NBA in preseason is Keegan Murray.
Yes.
Paul George was noted saying in his training camp that the Kings aren't going to be an easy out this year.
Hmm.
And my God, he is so right. The Kings proved that there's going to be a team that is going to be an easy out again this season, and that team is going to be the Lakers.
Yeah.
Don't matter if Pat Beverly's there, but yeah, no, Keegan Murray having an amazing game. In his first game, 16 points, 7-11. He was already looking really good in summer league. This only bodes even well for him. So I'm happy to see this output from him in preseason. And I guess the two teams that I would say that I am most excited to see, I'm gonna first go with the stuff. It was amazing to see Ben Simmons on the court, see how it'll fit with Kyrie and Katie. That
Hmm.
definitely was a very interesting experiment to see finally played out. Right,
Yeah.
very early on, it did not look as amazing, but like I said, it is preseason. I don't really
Hmm.
care if you win a game. I just
Yeah.
want to see that there is something there, right? And they showed early on, and granted, the Sixers didn't even play with Joel Embiid or James Harden, right? Early on, the Sixers was just raining threes, right?
Yeah.
But the Nets looked very fluid in how they played their game. Um, and then by the second quarter, it started to feel like they knew what they
Hmm.
needed to do. And the Nets went on like an 18-0 run, right? To pull closer to the game, right? That bodes very well to me as well for the team. Like they will be able to be a team just like 2 years ago when they had Harden to turn on
Yeah.
that gear, go to that next gear and just go nuclear on offense, right? But are they going to look like on the defense is the question, and that's what makes me even more intrigued about how this plays out. Second team is I think it's pretty easy to me that of a team that I'm interested in seeing is that Cleveland team we both talked about before we
Hmm.
recorded. We watched a little bit of the Cleveland's how Cleveland look. They look as good as they looked last year, and with the addition of Donovan Mitchell, only look even better. So these two teams are definitely the ones that I'm most interested in, and that's my highlights for this early preseason.
I like it. I like it. A lot of overlap on my side. I am curious. So, no, got your first taste of watching Ben Simmons and everything. What did you think of the shot? Do you think he's going to shoot any threes this
Hey,
preseason?
hey, that man ain't shooting no threes, man. That man ain't no shooting no threes, man. I don't care if he shoots a
Yeah,
three.
yeah,
I
yeah.
really do not care. I really do think that gotten to a point in the NBA where people think that everyone needs to be the same player.
Mm.
Like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, would you ever like question a guy of Ben Simmons' size was shooting threes? No.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the game has changed, and I understand that I sound very, very outdated saying that, right? But I think that the it feels like we're at a point with the NBA where people think it's like homogeneous in that sense where everyone needs to be this one archetype. That's why
Yeah.
when we play 2K,
Yeah.
everybody has the same archetypes, right? It's because
Yeah.
everyone thinks that you should be a tall, lanky guy that can
Yeah.
pass, shoot, and do and defend, right? Like not every player is going to be able to fit that same mold. It's okay if Ben Simmons can't shoot a three. He's better at other parts in his game that compensate for that. Like why are people so consumed by it? I don't know.
Mm.
And my thing is, I only hope is that he took care of himself well enough not to care of if people think that he should shoot the three. You know?
Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah, I was watching it, took like a few shots and I'm like, ooh, I'm really hoping that his jump shot's more just rusty than anything else because it's some of his free throws look pretty bad as well. But
Yeah, they were terrible.
yeah, it's I'm really hoping there's some rust there. But no, I mean I've been saying the whole time I'm a big Ben Simmons fan. His passing's nice. Um,
It's insane.
Jabari Smith, yeah, you had all that. Keegan Murray, I will be the first to say, like, I remember when the Kings picked Keegan Murray over Jaden Ivey. I was like, ooh, what a mistake, blah blah blah. Keegan Murray's looking nice. I do have Jaden Ivey as on this list for me, like players that I'm impressed by. Of just the guy has something that's like sheer athleticism that you can't teach to anyone else. It's just really impressive to see. Like his first step is pretty insane. He gets to the basket at will. Now can he when he gets there and all that stuff, depending on who the defender is and all that. But I think the guy's gonna be very good going forward. I am impressed by Jalen Brunson in his first game. I Now it's preseason. I'm not going to overreact because I remember last year I overreacted when Kemba Walker was having some good preseason games, and I was like, "Oh man, Knicks had their point guard." Blah blah blah. The same spiel I say every single time. You know, when was the last time the Knicks had a good point guard? I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it. I just thoroughly enjoyed watching Jalen Brunson. The guy's very crafty. I was impressed by Maxi. Maxi, he only played 14 minutes, but he had 20 points, and he was going off in that game. You can definitely see like he's definitely at that next level. Like you watch some of certain guys, like you see like I could see Maxi potentially being an all-star. Someone who I would or a team that I was actually extremely unimpressed by. Jeff, you mentioned the name, the Los Angeles Lakers. Man, for as much talk in ESPN time that we see about the Los Angeles Lakers, they just don't look good. And we've been saying this whole time, they're off season, not nice, not great. I keep hearing all this talk about Austin Reeves this, Austin Reeves that. He's looking amazing. I saw this man, Austin Reeves. What is this? Come on. Like it's really I didn't see anything that was outstanding. They talk so much about him.
Is he still wearing number 15?
I actually I don't know. I did not know. Yeah. It's I just don't really the way that the Lakers actually get talked about is it's so crazy. And then how I always hear about how, you know, now with Westbrook and everything, it's actually a good contract. It's actually a positive because it's expiring and blah blah blah. You create so much space for next year, even though next year's free agent class is also not great, and there's no one to sign. But you created all this cap space. Like I don't understand this Lakers stuff. But yeah, extremely unimpressed by them so far. LeBron 0 for 7 and feels not great. I was impressed by the Pelicans. Like I said, like Zion's looking nice, and he's looking healthy so far. I hope it lasts. And then you touched on Donovan Mitchell, but yeah, those are my first thoughts. I mean, it's still so early. Most of these main teams, we haven't even seen like their full power lineups or anything like that. Some of their main guys are only playing 15, 20 minutes. So a lot more to think about and to even see how these teams really fit, because as of right now, it was very theoretical a few weeks ago. Now it's becoming more and more real. I'm very excited. But that's all I got. And I think that's all we got for the episode. Like I said, next week I have a little bit more for the weekly round. Or actually, I will have some weekly roundup. There's some news out there, but we're recording this weekend, I believe, again, right? We'll talk about this off here, but we'll get the weekly roundup stuff. Jeff, is there anything you want to say before we close out the episode?
No, mon ami. That's it for me.
Word.
There's nothing to add.
Yeah, no, it's just a good time. We can actually watch basketball. If the listeners, you picked up the league pass and everything, tons of great basketball to actually watch. Jeff and I were playing a little bit of technical difficulties on league pass side. You guys got to pick it up, league pass. Come on. But no, it's nice to actually have access to all these games, and we got to watch some good stuff.
Just got a text of someone trying to get some league pass, and I told them should have got that 2K.
The listeners, I hope you listened to us and when we talked about it, because it's a nice deal. It's a nice deal. I really enjoy this one. A lot of laughs, a lot of fun. It's nice to be back, especially with basketball actually to talk about rather than theoretical stuff. So I hope all the listeners, I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave us a like, comment, subscribe, share, rate us on all your podcast stuff, and you already know the drill. You hear it all the time. But I think this has been a good one. This has been episode 43.